And there we are. Greetings and welcome to Transformation Stories, thanks to the Keto Carnivore Diet. I'm John, the Carnivore Teacher, and today we're joined by an incredible guest who has completely transformed his life. Eric, thank you so much for being here. Can you introduce yourself by telling us a little bit about yourself and share a little bit about your life before starting the Keto or Carnivore Diet?
Thank you, John. Thanks for having me on, man. Well, let's say I'm a retired police officer from South Florida. I did almost 20 years down there. I'm the son of a police officer that also did 30 years, so it was in my blood. So I was around the Miami scene for a long time, all kinds of craziness. But that came with a price. So during my tenure as a cop, I started, obviously putting on more weight. Never really knew much about nutrition, typical stuff like that. And, I found myself at one point 250 pounds at 6 foot tall. And, even though I was a football player in my previous days and pretty athletic playing basketball and other stuff like that, just, I wasn't happy with myself, but, I was still able to find a beautiful woman to marry me and, have a couple of kids with. But, as with kids comes more stress and more responsibility. So the weight, was really bad. That's part of the journey getting up to 250 pounds, and then a friend of mine, Joe Crowder, he died jogging. He was one of our canine officers and kind of opened my eyes around 2017, after going to his funeral, like, man, I got to do something. I don't want to die of a heart attack, because he was in pretty good, real good shape. And I was, I knew I was too heavy. Right. And I knew it was coming, and cops do drop dead of heart attacks like all kinds of first responders. So I started looking at my health a little closer, and my wife was, pretty into it a little bit. Like, don't do any statins or anything like that, because she's seeing her own parents decline when they started doing certain medications. So she kind of had an early introduction to it, even though she didn't become a master like she is now or like we are together, But at that time, we're just trying to figure it out. So yeah, typical American diet. My mom worked for a living. My parents were divorced, so it was a lot of fast food or frozen foods that they told us were healthy. All those cereals and Pop Tarts and great school lunches. All that nutrition they gave you. You wonder why I struggled in school and loved playing football, because I had to get the energy out, and all that I learned a lot from, and how not to raise my kids. Not anything against my mom. It's against the school system, and what was good for me. And so currently we homeschool our children. We travel the country in an RV. I retired in 2019 at 50. Kind of got into this whole nutrition world after saving my health a little bit. And nutrition, I mean, the keto and the whole carnivore world that I discovered in 2018. I watched The Magic Pill, and I started seeing some different ways of thinking about my diet or the way I was eating. And that started the journey. And then 75 pounds, 80 pounds later, depending on the day and if I'm fasting or not, it's a full 80 pounds. So it's been a pretty amazing journey.
Oh, wow. That's great. Can you tell me some of your health issues or challenges, hurdles that you faced when you were before you went on this diet? You said you were 250 pounds at 6 foot. Do you have any other health issues that you were
So, so I guess I tricked my wife. And around 2007, 2008, I was training for a calendar. We had this police calendar that I was trying to get in shape for. So I was, egg whites and, turkey bacon and doing all that stuff that I'm banging my head against the wall thinking about now. But at the time, that's what they told us.
right?
And I was running a lot, man. And I hate jogging, really. I'm more of a sprint type guy. I like those type of sports, basketball, racquetball, tennis, stuff like that. But I was losing weight, but beating myself up. I mean, I remember I got around 215 pounds, and we did our shoot with our shirts on, because me and the other two guys just still had too much flab on us at the time, and that's the way it was. And so that's when my wife met me. I was probably in the best shape as a cop at that point than I'd ever been. So, I looked pretty good in uniform, so I fooled her. So, anyways, my journey was really big. When I had my son, I was 42 years old. And 5 months later, I was in a shooting where I tried to pull over a car that was involved in a bank robbery, and he ended up car chasing, and we crashed, and he ended up opening his car door, and he started shooting at me, and he shot me in the foot and my leg, and another officer and I returned fire several times, and we ended up killing the suspect at the scene. And then I get transported to the hospital. Everything you saw in the movies happened on one particular call in my career. You know, it was the bank robber, it was the car chase, it was the shooting, it was getting shot, it was killing a guy, and then it was the after effects of it all. So, you know, the PTSD kicks in. You don't realize that as much, you know, and then your diet changes and my habits change and the stress really starts to take a toll on you, you know, and trauma is no joke. And we all have our own trauma, you know, it could be our family trauma, car accidents, it could be anything, right? So we deal with it in different ways. Well, one of the ways I did was drinking and was pretty much eating like, you know, pizzas, and I love sandwiches, you know, and Subway and stuff like that. So I just never was giving myself any true nutrition to help my mind, really, and to even deal with some of this stuff. My whole body was inflamed, right? And that includes your brain, you know, and some of my decisions, you know, I didn't go off the rails. Luckily, my wife stuck with me. So I didn't go down any real dark roads of thinking about any, you know, any of that dark stuff that happens to a lot of our first responders and a lot of, you know, to the general public is happening all over the place. They just don't talk about it. So, you know, my wife was the first one to kind of point it out that maybe I should go talk to somebody and, you know, figure out what's going on. And so I had to go battle through workers' comp to get coverage from my shooting for PTSD and the whole, you know, whole thing. The reason guys don't want to go talk to them was what I was doing. Right. So I figured it would eventually help some more guys in the long run. So at this time, you know, eventually, you know, I'm still trying to work on my brain and doing a lot more meditation and trying to work on my patience, but I'm still heavy. I'm not feeling great about the way I looked. And, you know, I'm still drinking alcohol and I don't know anything about fasting and stuff like that. But like I said, 20, you know, a friend dies in 2017, 2018, magic pill. Then I saw Fat Fiction, you know, and then I discovered Nina Teichel's book, Big Fat Surprise. And then it was like Carnivore Code showed up in Dr. Barry's, you know, lies doctors, you know, told all the, and I'm like, oh my goodness, it's been a sham. They're lying to us. And then it's like I walked into this world of like, that's it. I get it now. Now I know why the agenda pushes these diets, you know, how much money's involved in, you know, marketing bad food over good food. And most of the foods I ate growing up were plant based. They might throw a Salisbury steak in there, but guess what was in the side? The potatoes, the green beans, a little casserole. And what was I drinking it with? You know, probably some juice or something, you know. And it's just, it's crazy to look back. And it's really helped me to actually be a better manager of my kids' diets now. And they understand this way of eating and what's more nutritious, a ribeye or, you know, a cupcake. You know, they already know the difference at, you know, 13 and 9 years old. Something I was never given. I was never given that tool or that knowledge. So that's probably been the biggest thing that, you know, has happened since, you know, losing the weight, like that goal of protecting them and saying, all right, you're not going to get fooled with Happy Meals. Right. So
What would you say is your why, your reason? Would you say it's your kids?
it was my kids. And you know what? Once I found out how dirty they were, especially Nita Teichel's book, right? How
Yeah.
they were hiding hiding information, and of course Ansel Keys and all the other stuff. But
Yeah.
it's bigger than that. You know, it's with chemicals and it's with all kinds of other factors that make you sick and fat and stupid, right? So
Yeah.
it was just I took it personal, like I was, you know, like I was doing an investigation. I'm like, this is organized crime. I'm like, these guys should be RICO acted and all of them should go to prison because they profited from hurting people, making people sick on both ends, right? And
Yeah.
now it's blown up, of course, on other podcasts, and of course with, you know, certain people in politics have pushed this side and opening people's eyes to the diets and the different, you know, how bad our food is, you know. And you know, I hate to tell people I told you so, like in a family and stuff like that, but hey, they're 5 years late. You know, I tried to tell them back in 2019, but at least they're here and they're understanding it. How many times have we heard someone that we told this 4 or 5 years
Oh,
ago,
yeah.
and that like, did you know that? And you're like, yeah, I did. But hey, welcome to the party, right?
Yeah.
Now you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, Dr. Anthony Chafee talks about this a lot. They knew in the boardrooms, they knew, and they should go to jail. It's criminal as like the Holocaust. I mean, you knew, and
Yeah.
he's just as angry as you are, and a lot of us are because we were fed all of this. I mean, it was just available, and we didn't even know. I mean, we didn't know, but they knew. Another question. I want to go back to your PTSD. Um, I didn't go in the military. I wasn't in the police department. You know, I'm a retired school teacher. I have a little bit.
Yeah, you do.
Bit of believe me, I've got something. I don't know if it's called PTSD, but can you describe for the lay person who doesn't really, they know the term, but what does it feel like now that you can talk about it? I know that a lot of first responders and people in the military and officers, they don't talk about it because of shame or embarrassment. But what can you tell us what it is? What does it feel like, and how does that affect our health if
Well,
we have it?
it's been like disguised over the years with different
Yeah.
terms. You know, it was battle fatigue, and it was shell shocked, and then it was PTSD. Well, they're trying to get away from the disorder part of, post-traumatic stress disorder.
Right.
It's more like post-traumatic stress, because it's not a disorder. Our body's actually doing what it's supposed to be doing. Your central nervous system takes over, and it's kind of saying, like my therapist, Dr. Barnett in Palm Beach Gardens, who I saw, awesome guy. I saw him for 5 years. Best move I ever did. Go talk to a guy about everything that was going on. And he goes, Eric, you got to learn how to dance with this, because it was your central nervous system doesn't kind of trust you anymore, because it almost got you killed. So that is what was happening with my shooting. So good.
All right. So describing what post-traumatic stress disorder syndrome is, whatever name they call it, what does it really feel like when you're experiencing it that people are embarrassed to talk about or show?
Some of the things I was feeling was it wasn't this feeling of trying to hide from it. I was feeling this over aggressiveness from it. Kind of like I compared it to running out there on a football field when I played high school ball, right? And you see the lights out there and the drums drumming, the trumpets and the cheerleaders, and you felt like you were going into an arena, right? And that's how you feel all the time when you're a cop on certain calls. It's like everything is just magnified, because they kind of tell you every call you go to, you could die, right? You could get killed on it. I lost your sound. You're muted. Oh,
Yeah, I'm here.
so
I
okay.
try to mute when you talk.
Oh, my bad.
All right,
I saw your mouth move, and
That's
I
all
didn't hear.
right.
So yeah, so you end up having already this guarded personality, and you're looking around at stuff. You're just preparing for what ifs, right? So when you go through the what if, and it really does happen, like I tell a lot of people, it took the innocence of police work away from me. Because before you go around, it's like, yeah, you see the TV shows, most cops never even fire their weapons. And, maybe you get in a car chase and chase the bad guy and handcuff him, high five people, and that's kind of what you were looking to do, right? And catch a few bad people doing bad things to people. Not all the other garbage of playing referee for parents that can't manage their kids, or kids that don't have parents and trying to manage them in the neighborhoods. And it becomes a bigger societal problem that you're dealing with. Now you're more of a social worker, and it's like, man, this wasn't what TJ Hooker was like, right? So, or Cops episodes. And, so when you do go through that incident, that really makes it real, and then you see the effect on your family. So then, yeah, you don't sleep as well at night. You don't want your family going to places as much, because now you're like, life is real. Right? This can really happen, and then everything that happens after that, like at any police funeral, any tragedy that happens, whether it could be someone like on New Orleans on New Year's Eve, and yeah, you're like, see, that's why we don't go out, or, you just end up becoming more of a hermit, and you don't get out there with the regular public. So that starts affecting your behavior. You don't, you're untrustworthy of everybody, and my wife wants to go see her family. Well, guess what? I'm going to go drive her. I can't let her drive the kids without me, right? Got to control the situation.
Okay.
So, whew, let me take a sip of coffee.
Go ahead. You deserve it. Did that affect your diet at the time? Made you eat more?
Yeah.
Ate more, drink?
Definitely was a lot more drinking. So, but it wasn't like I was putting away a ton of it. I was like kind of looking forward to taking the edge off, because that, for first responders and a lot of people in a lot of professions, you don't have other alternatives. Right. It's either alcohol, or you got to get a prescription pill from your doctor, and in police work, you get that prescription, but you don't tell your department, because then you're going to get a desk job or something, right? So it's kind of this hidden, like, you don't tell people you're in trouble or you can't sleep. And you hit the bottle, and that's culturally accepted in our profession. We all, hey, you can drink, and you even kind of look the other way when some of your buddies are even driving drunk and shit like that, leaving parties. And I hope not so much now, like in my generation, cops were getting arrested for it, and you see their face on the news. And
Wow.
now with social media, I mean, I hope these cops realize that they're at a bar drinking and people know you're a cop. People will film you. And if they see you drive out of there, they will film and call them, because we've had it happen. So you are held to a higher standard. So
Yeah.
hopefully, in my public service announcement, do the right thing in those situations. We didn't have Ubers and stuff like that,
Right.
so we
Back
didn't have
then.
those
Yeah.
options.
And now
So,
everything's filmed. Everything's on camera.
yeah.
Everybody,
So
everything. Yeah.
I mean,
How are you doing now compared to then? If we were to take a look at a before and after, not just a picture of your body and everything, but how are you feeling PTSD wise now after
well,
it's
well,
2025?
one of the best things I decided to do was my wife started watching those little tiny house shows and tree house shows, and
Yeah.
let's put a storage tanker in the woods and cart. She wanted to minimalize, right? So
Oh,
I thought she was crazy. So in 2019, she says, "How about we sell our house and then we buy a trailer and an RV, or an RV trailer, and travel the country?"
this was her idea.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So at that time, I was like, "Well, just travel around." Like, I didn't know, right? I'm come
Yeah.
from working since I was 15 years old.
Right. Yeah.
And she's like, "Yeah." And I looked at the numbers. I wasn't going to make that much more money unless I stayed a full another 5 years. The way the retirement would have worked, I
I
was
hear you.
like, wasn't going to make that much more money. It was going to be 5 years. My kids were going to see me go to work where I was stressed out and having to deal, even though the Ketovore way I found in 2019, I started losing, I lost 50 pounds in 6 months. Then I
Mm.
retired on my 50th birthday.
Mhm.
And then I found a brother that was a cop that, was RVing already, and, that was a crazy story. So we started camping together, and next thing by 2020, we're full-time RVing, traveling the country, different campgrounds, homeschooling our kids. We started homeschooling our kids a year before they started making people homeschool their kids. So
Oh,
everything just started like it
all
was the right decision,
fall
be-
into place. Yeah.
being guided. And now that we've been going to, I realize how much nature means in your overall mental health, and going to the Smokies, or going to all 5 Great Lakes like we did in 2021, from Niagara Falls we went all the way up to Marquette in Michigan. And my kids not only got to see the Great Lakes, they swam in them. They got
Right.
rocks and
Right.
stuff. And it was just, and walking out there in nature, and especially if you're trying to figure stuff out, maybe you're having a rough day, or just get out there and grounding with nature, walking around barefoot and just taking the fresh air and letting the mind slow down, right? Was so therapeutic. Like, I still joke around with my wife on Mondays. It's a real task to calm myself down. I mean, I'm not bouncing off the walls, but I know mentally I can feel the energy from the years of going to school on Mondays, going to work on Mondays, being depressed about it because
Yeah.
it's coming off the
Yeah.
weekend,
Yep. I know that feeling. Yep.
even 5 years retired, it's still, now I joke about it. I go, today, I'm going to go to gym at 10 o'clock, and then I'm going to eat at 1 o'clock. I'm going to have steak and eggs. I might even go to a diner, just to make it that much, I'm going to
Yeah. Right.
change today,
Yeah. I got you.
but
It's not that routine that you had to have every single Monday because you were locked into work.
right. And
Yeah.
it's freedom,
That's
and,
cool. Yeah.
I'm not rich in wealth and, having houses all over the country. We bring our house all over the country.
Right. I've seen it.
And yeah, and our kids are outgrowing it, so we're looking for land right now in Tennessee and Alabama.
Oh, okay.
So we want to do some homesteading and stuff like that, and mix in my nonprofit Cops and Campers, where we
Uh-huh.
talk about nutritious health and stuff like that. So
Right.
yeah.
Let's go ahead and talk about that.
Oh yeah.
Tell us about cops and campers.
Well, short story was, in 2021, I was at a campground in New York, and that campground didn't support the thin blue line flag I had up, asked me to take it down.
Ah.
They were going to call the cops on the cop for the cop flag. Yeah, I mean, that's
But
not
why?
ridiculous.
Did they give you a reason?
Well, they didn't support the thin blue line. I mean, they had Canadian flags up, they had military flags up. My flag was targeted, and some other cops
Oh,
came up to me and said, "Yeah, they made mine take mine down last week." So I kind of was like, "Well, screw you guys," but I'm like, I didn't have it mounted on my camper. They had a rule, like, if it's on your camper and if it's in the ground, they own the ground. So I put it on my truck.
Right.
And then I went on social media, and it turned into this big old thing with 1,000 trails. And I kind of went belligerent on the guy that had told me to take it down, and recorded it and said some bad things, and, kind of showed some of my PTSD. And it kind of went viral. I got suspended from the camping group for 2 months. And then 4 different campgrounds in New York said, bring your flag, your camper, and your rig. You're staying with us.
Oh, wow.
So as I went to each campground, I started meeting cops and military and, anybody associated that knew the flag. And then, I told them my mom was a cop, I'm a retired cop, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And started getting challenge coins like you got. And I started collecting and meeting all these cool people. And I'm like, this is what we should do, get together at these campfires and just talk about stuff. Because a lot of guys are missing that. Because, you do 20, 30 years as part of a little group.
Yeah.
Right. And then you get away from that and you're kind of lonely. You're missing, like, what am I supposed to do? A lot of guys feel like that. So we decided to start a little at the beginning, it was just a camping group called Cops and Campers. We're going to have these little retreats where we get together. We'll have live music on Saturday. We'll barbecue, like your typical party, right?
Yeah.
Except we're camping. And we'll send out invites. And I started a little, group, Cops and Campers group, and started a page. And then we did a couple events at the campgrounds that first invited us that first time around. So then it started growing. We did a documentary in 2022 called Cops and Campers. That's on YouTube, about 30 minutes, about how it started and why it started. And then we went nonprofit in 2023. So now we try to host these events across the country. We've done them in Atlanta. We've done them in Tolona Ridge, which is Ellijay, Georgia, which is beautiful country. We've done it at Suches. In Georgia. We've done, New York. We've done it. A couple of smaller ones we call pop-up. Like all of a sudden we find out there's like 6 cops at a campground or military guys, and then they know a couple other people, and then you just do it. So
cool.
It's turned into real positive things. The best part is our wives or significant others get together too. And then they can network and say, you know what? I hate the way John is. He always leaves that, barbecue uncovered, and then it rains, and then I'm the one cleaning it, at least. So it's always kind of cool stuff. And guys find out they got fishing buddies. I'm not always into certain things other guys are, but they find that in the group.
Right.
So that's been a real good thing. And, I can network within the police culture about, hey, all right, now you guys know you have trauma from the career. You sold a little piece of your soul for this pension. And now you got to work at, why do you feel the way you feel? Why are you obese? Why are you heavy? Why are you on medication? And I guarantee almost every cop that's retiring is probably on some form of high blood pressure, statin, or some type of cholesterol, of course, cholesterol medicine, something. They're on something. I already have guys telling me what they're on, and they're 40 years old, and I'm trying to tell them about the diets. So, that's what I've done at my Cops and Campers groups. Some of these get-togethers. Last year, I had Dr. Kiltz come out and talk to some of the guys about, the hardcore carnivore diet. And, if people want to look at that way, and, some of the benefits and some of the, other good things that come with this way of eating. It doesn't have to be carnivore. It could be ketovore. It could be keto. It could just be get rid of processed food. Come on. At least look at know what you're eating. And that's half the battle I find with people. Just they don't want to even look at what they're eating. I tell these cops, you can write a search warrant, right? State statutes, laws, and write to people tickets, and but you don't even know how to read your blood work, right? Do you know what VLDL is? Do you know what, like, the further down the chain you go looking at your cholesterol numbers? Do you know? And I didn't know.
It's such a good way to teach that. You know how to do all these things being a cop, and all the stuff that they learned when it comes to law and enforcement, and yet you can't even read your own blood work. And let's do that.
Down in South Florida, as you know, we have a large retirement community.
We do.
And when I started in 2001, it was this thing, Alzheimer's and dementia was starting to pop up. Like, it was still a new thing a little bit, ironically, like about 10 years after the statins were really rolled out hardcore. Strange, right?
Yeah.
Well, I always paid attention to that because these poor guys, it would, we have to go to death calls, and I'd see the medications in cabinets.
Wow.
And we'd have to document them and protect them from the grandkids from stealing the freaking, ones that were bad. So, and I remember my hands cramping up because we did everything by hand back then. Not the big reports, but the death certifications or notification stuff. But I kind of saw what was going on. And then we'd have to go look for these poor old people that would be lost because they got away from the homes. And I was like, what is going on? And you start seeing these facilities pop up all over, like Walgreens. And there's Alzheimer's, and there's a local practice. And then it's just, I saw it like spreading like cancer,
Oof.
literally, and the diabetes thing with cops is a big thing, to get back to that. So it's opening guys' eyes to see my journey. I mean, come on, guys. I was 250 pounds. I was pre-diabetic, and I know it's probably worse off. Actually, my cholesterol numbers have always been 280, and right now they're 345. And I just had a recent blood work again for Dr. Ovadia and another, CAC scan today. We'll find out.
Oh, yeah.
That shows
when
up.
are you going to find out that number?
So let's see.
So we can compare it to that last number.
Let's see. I think it probably I imagine by Monday.
Oh, all right. So we won't know on the weekend.
Yeah.
I'd be curious. You're going to share it, right? Like you did.
Yeah. As soon as I know. I already did a video today talking a little bit about, man, let's see what's happening. And then I started, somebody talking about nano bacteria and all this stuff. I'm starting to get all this different. Yeah, it's people send you stuff. And I found some really good things just by stuff people sent me that I thought was a little bit crazy. And now it's all over the media. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. That one guy
going
sent
down
that
the rabbit holes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's really easy to just spiral down. After listening to you last time when I spoke with you and when we had lunch together, and here you're the kind of guy that you go down the rabbit hole, you learn, and oh my gosh, it's a place to go and to better yourself. And but you also get scared. Now, being a guy of PTSD, do you find yourself fixating on things too much? Like you fixate too much on your numbers and your scores and everything?
No, I mean, my wife says I probably do, but I mean, when you hear guys like Ken Berry and Sean Baker have a 0 CAC score, and then I come back with a 4,000. I mean, I still got to be the one that says, well, I got to be a little bit reasonable here and understand the circumstances. I know I've been hard in my life. I'm not a dummy. I know I poisoned myself with mycotoxins and heavy metals. I mean, I've had those 6 mercury fillings taken out in the last year. So hopefully all this stuff is going the right direction, and mentally and physically, I feel great. I'm not going to run any marathons, I'll tell you that, but I'm just going to keep riding it out and learn more about it, and there's a Facebook group for guys like me that have this certain condition. You have these, it's called the high CAC club or something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
But, I finding out about my body type too, the lean mass hyper, first, I call it a hyper first responder, but it's hyper responder.
Right.
And yeah, I just wish I could have been this weight at 20 years old.
Started way back, knowing what we know now.
Like we all say, but I want for my own health and my kids. And so I wish I was a healthier person. And, I got a good outlook on it, but I'm still a realist at times. And it's tough not to, like you said, go down those rabbit holes and you start reading research. And then you realize half that research is even wrong. So you're like, where am I?
You have to take it with a grain of salt. You have to be careful. You have to be careful. I spoke with this one woman. Her name's Kim Howerton. You may recognize the name. They're really good friends of Dr. Berry. Kim is. And she, I asked her specifically, I said, this is before I got my CAC score. I said, I have to pay for this out of pocket, which was like $120 because insurance doesn't cover it. Should I get this done? Should I do this? And she said, well, think about it. If you get it done or if you don't get it done, is that going to change the way you're eating now? Are you going to continue to eat properly? It's just knowing your number, and you're not going to change anything because of the number. I mean, whatever your number turns out to be, again, you're going to continue to eat properly, right? You're going to continue to eat healthy foods and not eat the seed oils, not eat all the sugars and the carbs and all the alcohol. So she told me that it really rang true. I thought, okay, I'm not going to dwell on all these numbers as much as I was.
Right.
It's nice to know them. It's nice to have a hold of them and grasp all your markers. But is it going to make me eat differently? I'm already eating well.
Right.
I'm going to continue to eat well. And then it's nice to see if they change in the right direction, I guess. But there's nothing we can do about it, is my point, other than eat properly and exercise and get good sleep and manage stress, right?
Well, I'm almost, it's kind of like a case study that I'm kind of doing on myself, because
On
I get a
yourself.
lot of guys reach out to me that are on the point of getting stents put in, or
Oh,
having to get on a statin because that's what their doctor's telling them,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I keep trying to tell people, be careful with that test, because it seems like it's just a gateway to get you into the system, to find a reason to get you in the system,
To
because now
milk the insurance company. Yeah.
you're already healthy, right? So you don't need them. Now they're like, well, do a CAC score and a stress test, and we'll see what we can find. Oh, you probably should get a statin. Look at this that we found, and but I like how I found there was one guy I met. He's got like a 7,000 CAC score. I didn't meet him. It was online. I saw him chatting about it, and he's like a 7-year-old dude. I'm like, well, shit. I'm sorry.
He's 70. No, sorry. He said he's 70 and he's at a 7,000 CAC score and he's 70 still.
Yeah.
See, I just wonder about the validity of these CAC scores. Mine's 0,
Right.
right? Whether it was 0, 100, 500, a couple thousand, I'm going to continue to exercise and eat well, no matter
Right.
what. And it just, after hearing yours, it just makes me wonder, was that a valid tester? I'm curious what your new test will be.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if the other one was 1,500, 5 years before
Yeah.
that one. So yeah, it is interesting. But you know what? It makes me really think how close maybe I was to having a heart attack.
If you continue down that road.
Right.
Right? Probably.
Calcification's healing to me. I think of it as a scar, and maybe it made me just a little stronger. Maybe I'm not quite as maybe I don't live to 120. I live to 110, right? So that's kind of how you got to think. So
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you there. So we talked about statins. I'm on the same knowledge train as you are about statins and what they do for you, and about cholesterol and what it really is. And can you share for our audience why you discourage people from taking a statin?
the number one reason is watch Dr. David Diamond's, the myth about LDL and cholesterol and all that. And he just opened my eyes to how it's a big scam. It doesn't make that much of a difference. And then the side effects of it,
Oh man,
you
yeah.
know. And then I had a person, my first doctor, after I had my first CAC score in 2019 and my high cholesterol, says, you got to see this cardiologist, man. We're talking stents. We might even be talking, we don't know. This is really bad. He scared the heck out of me, man.
Yeah.
And it was still, I'd only been doing keto, I lost 50 pounds, but I still had another 30 to go. And I was still feeling this diet was still new. I didn't have all the resources that are available now. And I remember I looked up Dr. Ken Berry's thing about high cholesterol and high CAC score or something. And he said, look up this, and had Dr. David Diamond's little video about statins, because that was the first thing he wanted to prescribe me, was statins.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I saw that video and I was like, okay, I see what's going on. So then I had a conversation with my cardiologist, and I go, hey, let me ask you about all the kidney problems that come with statins. He's like, well, they've curbed heart attacks since 1990. And I was like, yeah, but what about the kidney disease and all that stuff it causes? He's like, well, that's a different conversation. I'm like, we're talking about statins, all right? The same
The
conversation.
same conversation.
So I still have it saved because he don't know I recorded it. And, it's allegedly out there stashed away, because
wow.
I still go back to it now and then. I was like impressed with myself that I knew enough at that time, because
Good for you.
he could have talked me. He's good because he believes it. He believes what he's telling me.
Yeah. He's wearing the white lab coat. He's got the stethoscope around his neck. The average person walks in and was like, well, you know what you're talking about.
And he's not trying to like fool me. He's not like, haha, I'm going to fool this guy just to get him on the operating table. He just thinks, he just had, and, I get out of there and then I walked away from modern medicine, and until, I said, hey, let me go rescan myself and see what's going on. But it led me to other things, getting that heavy metals test. I found out that stuff. The heavy molds I've been exposed to in my career, not only as a cop, but growing up in South Florida and certain houses I've lived in, heavy in the molds. I had really toxic molds in my body. So going through a detox to get rid of some of that.
How did you do a detox to get?
Well, I had to quit drinking alcohol is one thing. I mean, I'm fermenting, right? So what am I doing? And then a lot more. My wife has this little concoction through a naturopathic doctor we're taking. I mean, ashwagandha and all kinds of all kinds of different tinctures, and pretty much outdoor therapy, exercise, Maintaining, I pretty much fasted. I went to 1 meal a day, and I really concentrated on just, every coffee I had. That was one of the reasons I quit drinking. I mean, one of the things I used was was having some coffee.
Mhm.
And when I had the itch, let me do some coffee. But you know what? My coffee now is like, I supplement it with like collagen, or I'll put some mushroom powder in there my wife's got me on. And, at least it's a little nutritious
Right.
at the same time. And it's
Mhm.
feeding me up myself. And we're kind of waiting. Like I told you, mercury was taken out with you know, and the arsenic, I think, was all that brown rice from fast food and everything
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
People don't realize how much arsenic is in that brown rice,
Yeah. That
and
almonds, nuts have some arsenic in it too. It's amazing.
crazy. So I've stayed away from all that stuff, and we'll see. Hopefully it's just old. I had some weird stuff going on, and I also got um, diagnosed with Lyme disease, which I didn't
I
realize I had
remember you
had.
told me that. Yeah.
And after we got back from Austin, I had my knee swell up, my good knee, not even my basketball, like wear out knee that I have. It's my right knee swelled up, and it was just like filled with fluid. It
Oh
was
man.
crazy. And my youngest son has Lyme disease, and we don't talk about it because he's beating it, right? So we just don't even bring it up, right?
All right.
So, but he suffered through it, so we knew exactly what was going on. And obviously the test that showed I had it, even though it was dormant at the time, until I had the flare up. So we were like, holy cow. And I hadn't eaten anything different. It was just kind of just detoxing, man. Your body's always trying to clear out the lymph nodes, all that deodorant I sprayed on, all that right guard.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I started having like stains on my shirt when I just didn't wear any deodorant, because my body was just like,
Excreting out.
we're free, let's
Well,
get
it's
this
good
done.
then. Those are bad, those are negative side effects you were feeling, but that it was also a positive thing that you're getting that crap out of your body
Yeah,
as you were burning your fat off too. A lot of that stuff is stored in our fat cells,
that's
and
probably
as
what it
you
was.
burn
Yeah.
the fat, it's releasing it little by little, and it's coming out. Dang, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
the fasting was definitely the way to go, because
That's amazing.
I got stuck with some loose skin and stuff like that. But every time if I fasted, I tried to go. I never did 3 days, and with my life and my kids, I just couldn't really dedicate that long to kind of just go through it. I want that to be done in the right environment. Maybe when my kids get older, but 24-hour fast I have done and stuff like that.
All
And
right.
you could already feel like you feel it. I'm like, man, I'm freaking shredded
Yeah,
today.
you get a good
Right?
amount of autophagy, and you. I don't know how if you explain it, but when I feel like I'm like really high on ketones, 24 going on to 48 hours, I've done some long-term fast. I can feel it
Okay.
almost like a burning on the inside, but it's not a bad feeling. It's this
Right.
really good feeling. Absolutely.
It's getting you ready for the hunt, man.
That's what it is. That's
You
exactly
know?
what it is. And we forgot how to eat that way. We forgot how to feel that way because of all this processed food everywhere that's just become normal. It's just everywhere. It's in the fast food restaurants. It's in, you go in the grocery store, the whole center, most of the whole center of the grocery store is all that crap that we're so used to eating. And people are in a fog, aren't they?
Yeah.
They don't realize it. You took the red pill, so did I. And it's like
Yeah.
our eyes are opened, and I can't look at that food the same way anymore.
No, not at all. And luckily, like I say, with my kids, we do different things too. We let them eat with their hands. I
Nothing
mean,
wrong with that.
oh no, but it's just good. It's part of
It's
the whole digestive
human. Yeah.
process, and they're pretty much little carnivores, but my wife makes homemade sourdough bread with 3 ingredients, and anything she has is clean for as much as we can get, and in
Mhm.
our journeys. But the best thing about traveling around, the first thing we do is look up local farmers markets. We get out there and we talk to find the local honey for the kids to have, and they do broth coffee in the morning, beef broth,
That's
and
good.
just to get their day started. And we meet the farmers of beef, eggs. We ask them what they feed them, because obviously the youngest son who has Lyme, we have to watch the inflammation in his diet, and it does matter what those chickens eat, and if
Yeah.
they're corn, and that the beef is corn fed or not. We've seen it in his body and the way he reacts. So they can say whatever. Oh, it's the same thing. No, it affects my little guy. I see it all the time. So there's something in that stuff. The corn could be sprayed with something that's getting passed through
Yeah,
obviously
it
the
is.
cow
Yeah,
and all that. So
absolutely.
it's a lot deeper than that, but that's been the best thing with this lifestyle. Prepared me for them to then, they eat right, and
Yeah.
pay it
That's funny.
forward and help people and help their friends. They're already rubbing off on their
Your
friends.
kids are set up for success thanks to you now. They
Hopefully.
really, and they're starting young. Talking about food now, let's just talk about you. What do you eat on a daily basis? Everybody asks me that question. Well, John, you're
Yeah.
a carnivore. What do you eat? And I used to hate that question. I'm like, oh, here we go. I gotta come up with the list. But now I'm like, I'm excited if somebody wants to talk to me. Really? And I take my time and calm down and I tell them what I eat and why I eat it. So tell us what you eat on an
So
average
I've
day.
been crushing eggs lately because
Yeah.
I got this gig over the winter to help out, let's say doing some security work on the side,
Mhm.
and I end up getting this boiled egg maker that boils 7 eggs at once,
I've
right? It
seen
takes
those.
like 10
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah.
Man, that is the best thing because now I boil eggs all the time and they're ready in 10 minutes. I scoop them and go and
Are they
really
hard
feel
boiled, soft
well.
boiled,
It has a little measuring cup
any
that
way you
tells
want, right?
any way you want.
Okay.
So I've been crushing eggs. I eat at least 6 to 10 eggs a day. I'm always got some meat source, though. I always got some type of if it's some leftover steak. We crush hamburgers. We buy ground beef by if we can get 100 pounds of it, we at least have that as something to use. Make something with. A skillet with eggs or whatever we have to. But yeah, I pretty much crush eggs, beef, and yeah, chicken, like chicken's the same price as beef now, so I don't even bother with chicken.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
there's certain things. I mean, yeah,
Yep. Sales.
if it was cheaper back in the day, I might get some chicken thighs or something like this, or that. I'll do pork loins. I will roast a couple of them, have them to eat off of, and I guess she gets these like kielbasa type of sausages sometimes. But yeah, it's pretty much and whole. I get raw cheeses and we do goat cheese and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't really, and eating once a day, it's not that complicated. I put away 6 eggs, 2 burgers, half a block of cheese, and I'm good.
Now,
You
you get
know,
any cravings between that meal and the next meal?
yes, I still get the
You
little
still get
chocolate.
them? All right.
Well,
Tell me about it.
all right. So my biggest handicap's been a little sweetness in my coffee
Ah,
because of the Dunkin' Donuts for 20 years, right? Because we
okay.
used to get
Yeah.
free
You
coffee or
conditioned your brain for it.
well,
Yeah.
not free coffee, everybody. We have to tip, but that was the payoff. Hey, I get the coffee, I give you a tip. Here we go. So
Come on, cops, coffee, donuts, right?
they
The
no,
damn
I
stereotype.
never ate a donut in uniform because I saw one guy get caught in a picture, and I said I would never get caught because I didn't want to become a meme. So,
Yeah. All right.
but no, I stayed away. I did bagels, which is now I know it's the same thing, but at the
That's
time I
good.
thought it was healthier, loaded with cream cheese and all that. No, but I do like a little stevia in my coffee. I do a little kick in there just to get it going. I know I should get off of it, but it's one of my only enjoyments of the day is my coffee broth I have in the morning to start my day off. I have heavy cream in it, and the collagen, and then I'm ready to go, and that's when I hit the gym or I hit the hike or I hit the walk, and I'm ready to boom, 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 and that just rides me until like 2 o'clock when I'm ready to eat my meal.
All right, but I
So
originally asked, do you have any cravings? And you said for sweet stuff, and then you went
oh,
into
I was
stevia.
saying this, my coffee, having my
Is it
sweet
just the stevia and the coffee, and that's it? Does that do you?
dark chocolate, like cacao.
Yeah,
If we have it, like if we do a Whole Foods run or something, we'll get
yeah.
the that was it 95% or
Uh-huh.
78, whatever the wife gets. Yeah, if that's laying around, I'll eat it all.
Ah,
I don't
yeah.
keep it around though. I mean, for that
Yeah,
reason.
yeah. I think that's the key is out of sight, out of
Yeah,
mind.
chocolate is my thing. I will crush it. I will crush chocolate, so I don't keep it around. That's it.
All right, yeah. All right, that's good then. It's other than that, you don't when you have a big meal, all your eggs and your meat or whatever, and you said you only have one meal a day. So
Yeah,
between whatever that meal is, let's say that meal is at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, you mentioned
yeah.
that once. Do you not eat again until 1 o'clock the next day and you
If
just have the coffee with the stevia?
over the holidays, I was working a little later hours, so I might have another meal in,
All right.
by 7 or 8 o'clock, and that would be whatever leftover we have that I finish everything off. That's one of the reasons my histamines I think was always so high because I was eating a lot older meat. You
Ah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
so I mean, the kids don't eat everything, and then we do get salmon and some other things thrown in there and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I probably eat one meal a day, 4 times a week. The other days is probably two, depending on where we're going, what we're doing. family gatherings now. We're home visiting family for these next 2 weeks. So everyone's got food. So I'll target it. I'll eat before I go there.
All right.
So I don't have to eat the garbage kind of thing. So
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good.
yeah, man.
All right. We're coming up on 50
All
minutes
right.
here. This is it just flew by, except for my technical difficulty here that I'm
No,
going
it's
to
all
edit
good.
out. Can you tell us where we can find you? You have a YouTube page. You have some interviews out there, some really good stuff for viewers to watch if they want to find out more about you.
Yeah, it's the two-headed monster, I call it. You have the Keto 5.0 side of things, which is kind of the nutrition and, hey, they're lying to us, and follow all these great people, like you said, Anthony Chaffee, and you got Barry, and, we know so many of them,
We do. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
of course this weekend with Doug Reynolds event and all
Yeah.
that
We're
stuff.
going
So
to Low Carb USA.
yeah, doing
Symposium
something
on Low
like
Carb.
that's just amazing if you can ever get to an event like that. But if you know any first responders that are really looking to get away, or any it could be nurses, it could be teachers, but our kind of therapy with cops and campers has been kind of with firemen coming, or dispatchers, and even
First responder.
military.
Yeah.
They come out there, and that's the cops and campers side. So you can find us at Keto 50 or Cops and Campers. You can usually link to either one through both. We're kind of connected, because they've kind of come together at the same time. And it's just been a good way for me to navigate both worlds to help these guys out, because I know they can get better. I see
Yeah.
it. I know they're struggling, and they get their nutrition right, they'll get their minds right, and then they'll enjoy their lives. They'll stop dying 5 to 12 years after we retire.
Wow. Yeah.
So that's my overall goal with that. So
And they look to you. You've been there. You have the history, the stories. You're an inspiration to them, and they ask you questions, and you've seen some successes, right?
yeah, and if you guys really want to go out crazy, watch the show Griselda on Netflix, and you get to see Detective June Hawkins, the actress that takes down Sofia Vergara, who's playing the Black Widow cocaine drug dealer,
Oh wow.
and that's actually my mother on the show
Oh
playing.
my God! Really?
That's my
Ha!
mom. That's my mom's character. She's not the
Your
actress.
mom's character. She's not okay. All right. All
So
right.
you'll see June in the whole show, and the whole time you just know that's my mom. That's where it
That's her
came from.
story. Fascinating. Wow. I'm gonna
You'll
check
see
that
me.
out.
You'll see a little Eric. She takes me to baseball practice in episode. I think it's
Ah,
episode 2.
that is so cool.
It's just a funny side note. If you want to kill some time, watch the show. It's on
Yeah.
Netflix. It's a little violent. It's like one of those drug dealer narcos type of shows.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
hey, it's how I grew up with my mom doing
Wow,
this heroic stuff.
yeah, if somebody wants to learn about you, that tells a lot about how you grew up and how you got to be where you are today, I guess. A
Yeah,
little bit. All
awesome.
right, Eric Reynolds, it has been an honor. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. Stay on for a minute after I end the broadcast and we'll chat.
Absolutely.
Have a great day, everybody.